You good? Alright. So we're going to go over what you should be doing pre-game. You guys can come like over closer. We're not really doing anything. Just so I don't need to like yell as much. Yeah, so like come closer. So we're just going to go over what you're supposed to be doing pre-game. You know, it starts with obviously just like clocking in, but it's also goes to setting up the fields. I guess meeting your partners for the night because it changes every night. And then of course setting up the fields and interacting with the teams as they come in right up until the game time. So we're going to go over those responsibilities that you'll be doing every time you come in, every time that you have a game or to start out. So the first thing that you'll do is obviously clock in. You'll clock in there. There's going to be supervisors that's always going to be stationed in there. You can also keep your stuff. She actually scored. But you can also keep your stuff in there because it's a secured facility. Like I said, the doors are locked. One of them is open, but the doors are locked, so nobody's going to be going in there. So you can put your stuff down and, you know, obviously prepare for what you need. They'll have the stripes in there, the scorecards. They won't have your whistle or, you know, black shorts, things that you should be bringing with you. But they'll have your game materials that you'll need. And
make sure you show up at the time you're scheduled because that gives you the time to set up the field. So don't think I need to be here earlier to set up the fields. No, you're scheduled with enough time to have the time to set it.
The way that the scheduling works is that you'll either be your shift will either begin at a 45, so like 5:45, or it'll start on the hour. If you start at the 45, that means your games will start at 6.
So
okay.
15 minutes to prepare.
So you'll be 15 minutes to set up if you get there at 5:45. We'd prefer that even you get maybe 5 to 10 minutes, get here 5 to 10 minutes before your shift even starts, just to give you even extra time, just kind of settle in, clock in, you know, make sure you have everything you need. Because the last thing you want is to show up at 6 and you have nothing, and then, you know, the games are behind. So just know that the schedule is about 15 minutes ahead, but still try to get here obviously on time every day. We already went through clocking in, so we're going to start doing setting up the fields. As you can see, on every field there's 6 pylons on every end zone, and then there's also the yardage markers. It will be we have a storage facility in that building. The supervisors will open it up for you. If it's not open, obviously ask them, but it's going to have everything you need in there. So 6 pylons and the yardage markers are pretty much everything you're going to need to set up the fields, plus getting the flag belts. If you don't know where everything is, and we don't expect you to know where everything is the first night you come out, just ask a supervisor. Everybody that's in either the polos, Seahawk rec shirts, you know, they all know kind of what's going on with the flag football. We don't expect you guys to know every single thing the first night, but as the season goes on, we obviously expect a little more, that you can come in and set up the fields without, you know, having to need to be, hey, to do this right, to do this right, to do this right, kind of thing. Anything else you need to add to that about setting up?
Really? When you set up like the goal line markers and stuff like that, make sure you're at least a yard out.
True.
You need the room to be able to walk between them, or if you're walking up on them, they keep you right up on it.
Yeah, because you'll be running up and down the sidelines if you're, you know, a line judge or a field judge, so you don't want to have to trip over or worry about the yardage markers that are in between there. Okay. All right, so after you set up the fields, this is, I guess, when, you know, most of the teams are going to start to arrive, start to want to warm up, and so this is where you as an official can start interacting with them, you know, start to get to know them a little bit if you want to, so then you're not just kind of thrusted in there at the game time. So
make sure the teams are set up on opposite sides of the field. We can have both teams on one side. You got to have one in one team box and one in the other on the other side.
Yeah, that's something that you need to check with the teams. This is also your time to really look at if they're wearing jewelry, if they have pockets, if you know, they have any like wristbands on that maybe are tied on that might be hard to get off. This is where you want to catch those things. So then once again, if we're at game time, you're not telling them, oh, you can't have this, this, and this on, and then they say, well, I didn't know that, you know, kind of thing, like something like that. So try to use the time before the game to pretty much prepare yourself all the way up until the game time, so there's no kinks, so we're not behind when the games have to start. Okay.
And you'll get your scorecard from the supervisor up there that's signing people, and they'll have the scorecard and everything.
Yeah. Back judge keeps the scorecard for the whole game and also the time. Those are also things you'll get from the supervisor. They should be up there. You should ask for them the first night and pretty much every night, unless you start to figure out where they are, they leave them out, kind of thing.
Once you finish a game, you go up there, turn in your old scorecard, make sure everything's filled out so that they don't have to come looking for you after the game, and then get your new scorecard.
Yeah. Going off, we kind of touched on it with teams on opposite sides. If you can kind of see, there's a team box on this side and also on this side. The players on, actually there's not one on that side, but there's one on this side. So just make sure it's just that box between the 20s. The teams have to stay in the 20s. So on this side, obviously it'll be easier to see than over there, but everybody on the team has to stay, the subs have to stay within the 20. So even if we're down here on like a 4th and goal, and it's like 1 yard away, but they can't be like huddled up on the goal line kind of thing. They have to stay over there. It's something that you're probably gonna have to ask the teams multiple times a game, but try to keep it to a minimum. You don't want to keep on saying back up, because then it doesn't really do anything. You can give out unsportsmanlikes on the to the bench players. It's just assessed to the captain, so don't feel that you can't use that if it's getting really bad when they're just coming on the field or too close.
Or if you have some people just watching the game and they're being rude to you, make sure you let their captain know, like, if they don't quiet down, then I can give your whole team, like, I can give them repercussions about that. So they'll usually shut that down fast if they think it's going to affect the game.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions thus far about pregame duties? All right, so we will keep it going with a few more points. So the next thing is right before game time, probably about maybe 3 to 5 minutes before is where you're going to do a captain's meeting. And so this is where, if you officiated soccer, you kind of know, but it's pretty much you're introducing yourself, not fully, but you're introducing yourself as an official, and you're also explaining any rules or pertinent information for them before the game starts. This meeting doesn't need to be long. It should only last about 30 seconds to a minute. But like I said, this is where you can go over the different types of rules that players may not know, the timing, and anything that the players should know before they start out. So pretty much like what I would usually do is that I would come up to them, you say, hi, my name is Jonathan, or your first name, don't do last names. You can introduce all 4 of your partners. They should be all in the captain's meeting. I usually go with, we're playing 4 10-minute quarters. Clock's going to stop in the last 2 minutes of the second half, except for timeouts. You have 2 timeouts for the whole game. Make sure you guys keep your sportsmanship. Like red talk to this team, blue talk to this team. If you have any problems, we're going to come to you. But if you're not receptive to us, then we're going to have to throw something unsportsmanlike or something along those lines. So then, talk about sportsmanship a little bit. But just like that, that's like 20 or 40 seconds just of stuff of just, rules. If you want to say, make sure you keep your hands up, watch the flag guards.
You'll learn the more games you have what rules the players don't know about, and you'll incorporate that into your meetings.
Yeah. So it kind of goes with this. Have your style. It doesn't need. There's not a set way that I do it or that Lily does it that is correct or incorrect. But just have it known that you have to at least introduce yourself a little bit and make sure the captains know who you are and also who they are. So then if there's any problems during the game, you know who to go to. Okay. The biggest part of the captain's meeting probably is the coin toss. 'Cause this obviously, starts out who has the ball and and which side of the field that we're going to start on. So it's nobody really brings a coin. So it's simply if you have one captain here and one captain here, you usually go between them and say, "Is there a 1 or a 2 behind my back?" And you put it behind your back. Okay. And if she says 1 or 2, then they get to decide.
Make sure the other team sees what you have.
Yeah.
So they don't try and.
So obviously, if there's somebody right here, I'm doing it this way so they can see that I'm not changing the number or anything.
And you let the away team guess.
Yeah, and that'll be on the score sheet, but that's not too important. But I mean, obviously, for administrative purposes, the away team should be choosing. And then that's when you go through whoever wins the toss. That's when they get the choice: offense, defense to first side of the field, and then you go from there. Okay. That's also on the scorecard. Definitely write it down because it's sometimes you forget who started with the ball after 20 minutes. We went over a little bit of the timing on Monday, but just remember that it's going to be a running clock except for the timeouts. The back judge has the clock, so if somebody asks the referee for time, you can yell out to your partners, which is also good to know your partners' names rather than saying, "Hey, back judge," or something like that. If you know their name, it's easier for them to be able to communicate with you. So I completely lost my train of thought. I don't even know what I was talking about.
Knowing the back to timing.
Yeah, timing. Yeah. So back to has a time, but timing in general, the clock's only going to stop in those last 2 minutes, except for timeouts. And then under those 2 minutes, that's when we get into the high school rules with the major and minor clock stoppers. And there's mechanics for that I believe we will go over later today. But definitely under the last 2 minutes in terms of timing, Backstretch has to be on top of it. Everybody has to be doing the mechanics to either stop the clock or keep it rolling. But like I said, we'll go into more detail later on in the night. But is there any questions? That's basically pregame in a nutshell and a little bit of timing rules. But it's really important to kind of be, well, it is really important to be on time and to set up the fields, because you know, if one game is behind, we're on a schedule, so if one game is behind, it affects, you know, the whole night. So don't be that person that shows up late. Yeah. We ready to go? Okay.